Oh, hello. Oh, spoilers. Hold up. Ha. Hello. Welcome. 2024 World's Prediction Stream. We're here today. I'm joined by Wax. How you going, bro?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very excited. And Mouldy as well joining us. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate.
Yeah. Happy days. Dude, Worlds. So soon. I feel like Worlds, for me at least, has been like on the horizon for so long. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I leave in like 3 days. It's
Literally.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, people in the chat, let us know how the volumes are with the music and if like one of us is loud or quiet or anything, and I can adjust that. Yeah, cool. What have I got to say? Well, for one, obviously in the post we said Hacker might be joining us, but I think that was very optimistic because it was dependent on him getting like airplane Wi-Fi. That was one going to be good enough to even do like this, and then two, like Mouldy pointed out, it's an international flight, so there's probably a bunch of people just like trying to sleep right now. So even if he could, maybe he's just like, oh, probably won't be that one guy just talking really loud. So no Hacker joining us today, but we do have the three of us still, and we're going to use the whiteboard method again today. So myself, Wax, and Mouldy, we've all done our own individual predictions, and then we're going to go through starting from 15th, and we're going to go, all right, who have you got 15th? I've got this team, you've got that team, you've got that team. Let's have an argument for a bit, and we'll work our way all the way to first place. Wax and Mouldy, have you got anything you would like to say before we get into the thick of it? Maybe Mouldy is the World's Council president. Have you got any things you want to say?
I'm no longer the World's Council president. I dropped off that a couple of months ago because
Interesting.
I had a kid like 2 months ago and it was just getting too much. So Popeyes
fair enough.
Popeyes is running Worlds. I'll just say Popeyes and VDARK, they've been putting in crazy hours, and so is the side op, just putting in heaps and heaps of work for this comp, and it's shaping up to be really, really sick. So looking forward to it.
How are you? Let's go. All I wanted
Wax,
to say is
apparently
not
you're loud
important.
as hell.
Yeah, I think they're just yapping because they're little wankers, but I think we're chilling. But all I
They
want
could
to
be
say
trolling.
is all my predictions are not like I'm not going to die on a hill for any of them. I literally did them like 15 minutes ago, and I'm keen to just talk about it now and like work through what's going to happen.
Sure.
Yeah, ditto.
Also, Mouldy, congratulations on having a kid. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
that too.
And absolutely fair enough
Thanks.
to trying to step back from some silly laser tag responsibilities to raise a kid.
Seems fair.
That's super awesome. So congratulations.
Cheers.
Yeah, I don't know. If we have nothing else to say, we can kind of just get into the thick of it. So allow me to share my screen. Oh, that's a spoiler. I just put everyone's individual predictions just right off the rip. Amazing. Cool. So we got a few sheets that we're working with here. First one here is just the teams listed within their countries in no particular order with the full rosters. Okay. We have the virtual whiteboard because the actual whiteboard was giving me bloody back problems. That was really awkward to actually write on. So we have our virtual whiteboard, which will work most of the time we'll be working with. And I have the arena map here in case we want to talk a little bit about, a team within the context of the arena. Without further ado, gentlemen, who do you have in 15th place? Wax, who did you have? You just trying to remember?
I just read it. Where is it?
You messaged to me on Facebook, bro. Mouldy, who do you have in 15th place?
For me, I've got the Glorious Roosters.
The Glorious Roosters. I also had the Glorious Roosters in 15th place. And if I'm not mistaken, you had Remnants. Remnants. All right, I'm just pulling it up on my phone as well.
It's not look like it's an English word.
I think you just
Illiterate.
Never mind.
Stupid. One of the many words.
No.
That's
Not
me.
you. No, it couldn't be you. All right, fantastic. I just have it on my phone as well, so I can pull up the individual ones without spoiling it to everyone. Cool. Mouldy, do you want to start off talking about why you've put the Glorious Roosters in 15th place?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, 4 of these players I've never seen play, and I didn't do my research by watching any streams. So I'm kind of basing this off my experience in France last time and some insider knowledge from my source in France. So
My
when
source.
we played Worlds 2017 in France. They had 4 home teams, but I don't think more than one of those teams actually played at that site regularly. And the team that did, the Belfort Lions, put up a really good effort, but still ultimately the bottom 4 teams at that tournament in a home country, home A's, were all French. And the reason for that is the French generally play their own. They have their own federation and their own format that they play. And so I don't think the French are that prevalent in zone yet, as opposed to the Germans. It's quite a different scene. And what I've heard about these individual players is that they're really keen to come, and I'm so glad they're coming because to get more people from different countries is fantastic. My understanding is their experience in our settings is extremely low. So I think the barrier for them to crack out of the bottom place will be very high. I'd love for them to do better, and I hope they do. But if they lost every single game of the comp or all thirds, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Sure. And I think it's worth pointing out as well that they have there was a couple roster changes as we were leading up to Worlds, but they actually have Gypsy now. And Wax, you were telling me just before off stream how Gypsy has just come back to the trainings and then is just like decided to like do really well on the settings. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
I think she prefers world settings 100%, and she does really well whenever she does world settings. And for some mental reason, she doesn't notice 60 ms, and I don't know if that's like the most insane thing ever or like the stupidest thing ever. I can't tell, but she just like shoots people, and she doesn't think about it. So I do know, the only thing I do know from her is she's been invited to a group chat and they just talk French, so she's just like, I'm hello.
Amazing. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm super excited to see this team play because obviously, like, just almost completely unknown. I've put them in 15th place largely because of the unknown, but also just from paying like a little bit of attention to like the European tournaments that have been happening the last few years, and the French team, like, which I don't know if these players have gone to those tournaments, but generally the French team like really struggles and they're towards the lower end of the ladder, if not on the bottom. So just based on that, it's kind of hard for me and any of us really to put them anywhere but last place.
Do they play many team games at all, Mouldy, or is it because I heard that they don't play like team games? They just play like a 2v3 or whatever the heck format, or like
it's like a 5v5 format.
No. So French format. We played this at Worlds 2017. I'm just going to assume it's the same now as it was then. So if I get this wrong, France, please forgive me. It's 4v4 AVD. 3 shots per second, 1 point per base destroy, and each player can get 3 bases for a total of 12 points max for your team in the game. Defenders don't have to evac, and attackers do. And so the way that played out in the World's bases, which were very 2-door, like 2-man lock 2-door bases, was the defenders literally standing there for 10 minutes or whatever, just railing 3 shots a second out the door, and then 3-man trains running in 1 door trying to break them out. And if you happen to get the break, you would take the base. I think their arenas are better suited for it than our bases are, but it's a completely different game, like utterly different.
Is it like 4-second DAC as well?
I think it is shorter. I don't actually remember the exact setting. I want to say, I feel like it's 6, but it could, maybe it is 4. Yeah, it's been 7 years since I played it, and I played that day pretty drunk.
Amazing.
But we got the silver medal for it at Worlds, so that was fun.
Yeah, someone's just said in the chat that the French also play mostly on Nexus or Helios CE, no H2. So
is CE the one that's like Helios packs with Nexus guns?
No, Helios CE is just like really limited, like extremely limited, like software, pretty much, and like the pack quality is just like, I don't know, a little bit less.
Oh, is it like the old Rift packs?
I think so.
Yeah, well, if they play Nexus, then they should be set for 60 ms timing because it's very similar to Nexus. But again, like the difference in format is so huge.
Yeah, for sure. The guy in the High Life LMX is saying that CE is also with Nexus guns. I don't know if it still has
Right,
like the
so-
trigger lockout or not, like actual Nexus does, but yeah. Well, we go back to our whiteboard. Wax, are you happy to have Glorious Roosters in the 15th place, or do you wanna fight for the remnants being in that spot?
Like I think it's. I don't even know. Like, I think that not playing team games is crazy. So I think they will struggle a little bit. But maybe if there's some form of like improvement since 2017 and they've done some different stuff and maybe they've gone to other tournaments and stuff, maybe. But I don't like. I think there might. I don't know how bad. Not bad. I don't know where the New Zealand teams are at. Can we talk about them a little bit before we
For
do
sure.
anything?
Yeah.
Because you obviously had remnants in the 15th
So,
place, so.
Remnants is I have them in 14th. Spoiler alert. I think on paper they are definitely the weakest of the 5 New Zealand teams, with Thunderbirds just a little bit above them. So Kaz and Nitro have been around for a long time. I think Nitro's last Nats though was 2016, and possibly the same for Kaz. Grudy, you would have seen this year in Albury on Our Bears, and he played pretty well. I don't think he was, quite as explosively on the scene as Rapid was, but Grudy followed up that Nats with a very, very strong Invites performance, and Invites in New Zealand is on world settings. So I'm expecting some stuff out of Grudy. And Trady is a local home player we've been trading up recently. We are looking to take him to Europe next year for Euro Champs. So I think having a home gun who can score points, some experience, and a player like Grudy who has played in Nats, I think as a package, even though they're probably the weakest of the New Zealand teams, they still have the edge on the French team.
Cool.
But that's just my guess.
Also, I feel like I recognize Sneaky Ree. I'm pretty sure a few years ago, him and their partner were in Adelaide, and they were like attended our league for like a season or so.
Yes,
is this the same one?
Yeah, that's the same guy. And then he kind
That's
of
amazing.
retired from the scene for
Mhm.
a couple of years, and he's kind of come back in the last
He's right.
year or so. So he played Invites this year.
That's amazing.
And he came up to Auckland and played Open. He played pretty well, given his lack of like extensive recent experience, I think.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool.
That team's problem is going to be like who's going to captain it and how well will they gel together. I think I haven't actually heard directly from Kaz, but I heard at training last night that there might have been quite a bad ankle injury, so they might be a 5 for the comp, but don't quote me on that.
Why is this? Is everyone's ankle just made of paper right now? What's happening?
Yeah,
so many people who's
God
hurt
knows.
themselves.
I'm surprised Vidak's ankle is still holding up, to be honest.
Vidak's ankle as well. What the hell is going on?
Well, last
like 4 or
Worlds,
5 people.
Vidak broke his ankle last Worlds, or severely injured it like several weeks before the tournament, to the point that we added Arcane last minute and paid for her to fly to Worlds in case his ankle didn't heal in time. And his ankle has been glass ever since. Yeah,
that sucks, man. That sucks. Well, yeah, I think even given that, I'm still happy with having the Roosters in 15th myself. Mouldy, are you happy with yours as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm fine with this. This is all right.
All right. Boom. Here we go. Glorious Roosters, 15th place. Still super excited to see the French team come, see just like how they play. It's just going to be so foreign. It's going to be so cool. And yeah, who knows? Maybe they just make some really good adjustments. Gypsy gels with the team really well, and they can climb out of that 15th spot. But remains to be seen. Amazing, cool. Moving on. Who, Wax, did you have in 14th place?
I had the Roosters, so just flip flop.
You had the Roosters. Yeah. Oh, why is that in bold? There we go. Mouldy, who did you have?
I had the Remnants. I had the Remnants. Yeah.
And I also had Remnants. Cool. Probably not a lot of discussion needed there. Are you guys happy to have the Remnants in the 14th place? We've already kind of covered them a bit.
Is there Let's just talk about the next team then. Just to not just skip along as fast, just so we can kind of get a vibe of
Sure.
like where everyone's at.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah. Who did you have in 13th place, everyone?
I had Thunderbirds.
Okay.
I
Thunderbirds.
went a little bit spicy and I put the Devils.
Ooh.
Is this with
Devils.
knowledge, or did you just do this before you're about to find something out? Did you
I
see one
have
thing?
I have that knowledge, but I actually did that before that
Oh.
Yeah.
before the ankle knowledge came to light.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
another
I
one
have
of the
reasons.
ankles is gone. Sega on the Devils has bloody really badly hurt his ankles. So as far as I'm aware, he's still coming, but
He's not playing. The photo I got, he is not. That thing
it's
is
a
not working.
gnarly photo, huh?
Yeah.
Oof.
Who knows? Yeah. Okay. Devils is in 13th is a spicy one. I mean, that being said, a little bit more fair enough given the injury as well. Thunderbirds is the other one we have in common. So what can you tell us about the Thunderbirds, Mouldy? Oh, crikey.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, so firstly, they have an American player, Renegade, who I know absolutely
holy shit.
nothing about. So
I do.
we initially had 3 USA teams coming, and then over the course of the year, they dropped off one by one until we had one player left. But I'm very grateful to Renegade for coming. Looking
Mhm.
forward to seeing them play. And then Rooster, I think, is pretty well known at Ziltak now. Played this year on Owlbears. I think struggled a bit on pack to pack this year. I think the maze didn't suit her very well. She followed up that Ziltak with a really, really good invites. Their team made finals, and it was actually a fairly similar team to the Thunderbirds team. They had a lot of cohesion. So for her, it's about how well she'll play in the Silverdale arena. Deeker Insomnia, the twins, they played in Hobart.
Yeah.
On
I remember they
the
were quite good.
Raptors. Yeah, they can do pretty well when they're on form. They have some really interesting ideas about strategy, and sometimes it doesn't really work out. So I think if they can find a good standard and just play to like their strengths and their pack skill, which they definitely have in spades, they'll be fine. And Guerrero also, he was at Hobart on Dysfunctional. And he's gotten older and better since then. I think he was 15 when he went to Hobart.
Yeah.
And he's like quite strong in this arena. It's like literally he's the son of the Cytop. So he's put a lot of hours into this arena. And he's pretty good on pack to pack and taking bases. So yeah, I had them beating Devils because I think they're going to struggle with cohesion and strategy, but I think they've got enough pack skill to possibly climb above 14th place. Yeah.
I think so I actually played against Renegade in the US Nats this year. And he's quite good. He's like definitely like a brawly type player, like a lot of the Americans are, but very good brawling, like really good movement for like his like in duels and like dodging and stuff. And obviously the Americans play like one shot per second stuns. I think they normally play with an even harsher trigger lockout, if I'm not mistaken. Like I think they normally play 100 MS, but at the very least, they definitely play 60 MS. So I think, put him in any kind of position on this team, like on a door or whatever. I think he's gonna do just fine. I'm pretty sure he's also going to Sweenats as well. So this guy's jet setter. I think given all of that, I'm definitely confident with me having Thunderbirds above Remnants. Wax, have you got any thoughts at all?
Can we go back to the teams quickly?
Yeah.
So with both the two New Zealand teams, who's captaining and like how much experience / like willingness to be the captain?
Yeah, so with Remnants, I thought it would be Kaz who was captaining. She has a lot of experience, and she would have been captaining out of defense. If she's not playing, and based on invites, my guess would be that Grudy is captaining. And Grudy captained his invites team pretty effectively. And then for Thunderbirds, I think Dika. would be definitely wouldn't be Guerrero. Yeah. I would say Dika, but I think Dika and Insomnia, and as a team, they like to come up with strategies together. But in terms of in-game captaining, I think it's Dika, and he would be very willing. I think he's willing to do it. I think he's captained quite a few invites teams.
How good do you think the Thunderbirds are gonna do? Are they just your next pick after the Devils?
Yes,
or?
they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're like just in that realm where whatever happens, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I did hear. I think it was Dika on the Thunderbirds saying he thought his team could beat Taniwha overall. I'm not sure exactly the words he used there. That's like a very bold statement for me.
Sure.
But I like the confidence. Yeah.
How did you pronounce it? Taniwha?
Taniwha. Oh yeah. So Taniwha
So
is a Maori word, and it's kind of like a. I'm not going to try and give an exact definition because I'll get myself into some cultural trouble. Just go and Google it and you see what it is. It's like a spirit thing. Spiritual thing. Cool. Yeah.
I was so nervous that Ryan was going to be like, wax. And I'm like, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Cool. I think, for me, I'm definitely happy with Remnants in 14th. And though even with the injury to the Devils, all of these guys are quite strong pack on pack players. They have H2. They've been getting some really good training from what I've heard, playing on the world settings every week, playing against the Vikings. I can still see them.
I heard that they were a complete mess on the settings, so that's why I put them there.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's no shade against them. That's just inside dirt from players who like to troll the shit out of them.
It does kind of make sense because they were kind of a mess at Prenats 1, and that was on lockout, and it felt like they didn't. I don't even know. They felt like they didn't really fully get it, which is crazy to me because I feel like them versus Vikings all the time. You would at some point
they should get it.
Yeah,
and I would say Sega is their all-around best player. I think everyone has their own skills on the team, some better than others, but Sega has a lot going for him as a player, and for him to be out, to lose your captain like that. I know Easy used to captain them, but I also know he hasn't been around as much in the last year or so. The team, I don't think the team is as scary as Archangels were at Nets. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, sure. I still think I just have a funny feeling that the Devils, maybe on the last day or something, are gonna pull off some like they usually do.
They're experienced, right, at these comps. So even if they're a mess going in over the course of a week, it would not surprise me if they climb really high. And I would love to see them do it. They're probably my favorite team that are coming. They're just
they're cool.
Awesome. They're awesome people. Yeah.
Sega said he's happy to play in a wheelchair. So you guys have 6 players. Maybe they can get it approved that the 6th player pushes Sega around in the wheelchair. And
the maze is pretty wide, more or less. I think we could probably fit it in. I fit in the maze, so we could probably.
I was about to say that, but I didn't know it was too far.
Nah, amazing.
Take a dig. I fully disagree. I think after Prenats, right, Mantis wasn't there, and I think Mantis is really good for their defense because one of the things that happened when I was reffing one of their games is for some reason Sega was last line. I think he'd kind of got sick of whatever and just put himself under, and both of his door defenders just left at the same time multiple times without saying anything. And that's something you're never going to have with Mantis. She's always going to be there. She's always going to give good comms. She's always going to be loud. So I think their defense is better. And realistically, Karen last line for Vikings last year, and I think
for their wins,
he actually was compared to the year before, he was pretty solid, and I think he's learnt a lot. And from what Runt said something to me a while ago that Karen has been improving and stuff. So
I will say I don't think this maze is particularly good for specialist last lines. I think 3-door bases in general are not good for last line. So I'm not sure Karen's efficacy in this maze. If he can stay under the base and get calls and stay up, I think he'll be really good because he's proven that he's a champion last liner. But if he gets exposed outside of a base door, just from the last time I played Karen, I would expect him to get cleaned up by the stronger pack players. But
okay.
All that being said, I mean, where did I have the Devils? Let's have a look. So
they play defensively and pack pointy, they'll be fine. If they try and put on the gas at all, it's gonna be no good for them.
Yeah, I'm happy to lock in Remnants in 14th and Thunderbirds in 13th.
I'm happy with that. Yeah,
I'm happy with
You
that.
happy with?
I won't fight you on that.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so that leaves us with our 12th place team. Who did y'all have? I had Devils.
I had Thunderbirds, right?
You had Thunderbirds.
And I had
And
the
then-
name that I had in my head the whole time, and now I've forgotten. Say it again, Mouldy. How do you say it?
Tanifa.
Tanifa. Oh, spicy.
Interesting.
Did you put all 5 Kiwi teams in a row at the bottom, Wax?
No, there's a French team in there. There is a French team. No.
Fair.
Reapers.
Yeah.
Reapers are Reapers are above the Devils for me, which I shouldn't be saying right now, but
Spoiler
Here we
alert.
are.
All right.
Amazing. Wax, do you want to talk to us through your thought process
wait,
for this
can
one?
we go to the teams? I feel like I fucked this up. Go to the teams.
This is the
Tanifa
team
has
that-
4 eyes.
All right. Well,
You're saying this team made the grand final in the invites in the or the
that
open.
exact team.
They were the yes, they were the closest team that came to beating us in a single game. So we didn't drop a game at Open, which, given the teams, is not actually impressive. It's pretty expected. But they upped their intensity in the first kind of game of the 3-game series and came at us with like this crazy 3-man quick attack and just took our base instantly, and we were on the back foot the whole game after that. Won by like 400 points. They put up a really big fight in that final, and then the team who was also in that final in third was 3 of the Reapers and 2 of 1UP, and they were fairly outclassed.
Okay.
Hence
Maybe
me
I
putting.
maybe I did
yeah.
fuck up.
Well, you got to remember
I
this is a home. Tanifa are a home team. They're home to that site.
And the other team
They've been
is
training.
leaving.
They've been training every week. Well, most of them have been training every week. People might not recognize the alias Chaos, previously known as Blick, who not a super well-known player, but was on the Base Invaders team in 2018 Aubrey that came 6th place. That Margie was captaining, the one that we had Margie at the comp that he wasn't on the Cobras.
Yeah.
So he has a 6th place at Nationals, which a lot of people can't say.
Did they beat you guys?
Fuck no.
You guys
No. We were in the last Golden game with the Maroons and Sharks. Yeah.
Sharks all 1UP, yeah.
It was Sharks. 1UP had already gone through. It was Sharks.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that game.
That's fair.
Just quickly, Ibo in the chat was asking if Worlds is the round robin straight into Ascensions. I'm pretty sure we have Cascades, no?
I haven't seen the draw. I believe it's Cascades. But I have not seen the draw. I know that Moomin might have been involved in it along with Popeyes. I know Moomin is a fan of doing these weird pool things along with Cascades. But my expectation would be Cascades. It definitely, like last Worlds was just like double round robin and then into Ascension.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy.
Round robin sounds like the worst experience ever. What does that even mean?
You just play 2 round robins.
That's gross, man. I hate
That is disgusting.
Well, so it was 13 teams.
That's
so with
still
a-
disgusting. They can't all be. Are all 13 of those teams somewhat decent or no?
No,
Yep.
no, they were not. No.
That was
No.
interesting.
The bottom 6 teams were not amazing.
Weird.
So, yeah.
Anyway,
I
a bit
think
of a
we had-
tangent, but
Yeah. So yeah, I think Tanifa is a bit of an off-base pick for this position.
I don't know.
Wax,
That's
I'll say.
fair. I just
Yeah.
looked at Reapers and saw like somewhat of the core of who played. What was that team name in Hobart?
Raptors.
Raptors, and I actually thought I saw good things from them in.
Oh yeah, no, they're
Hobart.
they're definitely not a bad team. The Reapers, not at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they were going to have Rapid as well, and they lost Rapid, which is a huge blow.
Mm.
From
Rapid's
from their
the kid who played this year, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
one who always wore the pants and the beanie. Yeah,
the
doesn't
pants.
say much, but
He
he's a
wore
very
pants, thank God.
he is a very strong attacker.
Yeah, okay.
And so I think their attack is significantly weaker without him on the team. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at a bit of an impasse here. So let's also talk about our 11th place teams. So I had Reapers in 11th.
So did I.
Yeah, and Wax, who did you have in 11th? You
I
had
had the Devils.
You had the Devils. Okay. So looking at these teams, I think, I would agree Tanified shouldn't be this low. Thunderbirds we've already placed. And then the only two consistent ones here are Devils and Reapers. I think we're looking at Devils and the Reapers for 12th and 11th place.
Well, I mean, we've got if you go back to that page, you've got the Devils in 13th, 12th, 11th, and Reapers 11, 11, and Wax 7 even put them on yet. So just statistically speaking, I would put the Devils in 12th.
Just quickly though, with the Reapers, is it still going to be trader captaining? What's their game going to look like? What's the go?
Yeah, so Trader will be captaining, and I think their entire team is their success or failure will be based on his captaining, and whether he keeps focused and keeps it together. But I have a lot of faith in Trader. I think he's a really good player. I think he's underrated often. He's solid on pack to pack, and I think over the course of a week, they'll be good.
Yep.
Cyberant is not super known outside of New Zealand, but he's just a very solid pack player. I'd probably pick him more as a defender. Dari, I mean, you'll know Dari. She was an insane last line for us, but she can brawl anywhere. TT, he is the first non-Auckland A player in New Zealand's grading system. So he's the first Dunedin player to finally get to that A level. So we clearly rate him very highly. Zygarizer is, solid calling defender, get the job done. And in particular, this team are going to overperform in team elimination, I think, which I know we're not really talking about today, which is another team event. But even if we said that in general, people are as good at team elimination as they are at teams, which is not true. This Reapers team in particular, the Dunedin players are known for their elim skill. So I expect a really big performance out of them for elim.
Yeah, amazing. I think especially given the injury now, I'm happy with the Devils in 12th, and then we can put the Reapers in 11th for now, and maybe we decide we change that once we talk about 10th and 9th and stuff. But are you guys happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Boom. Let's do it. Okay. Cool. Top line done. Let's move on to our 10th place teams. So I actually had Tanifi here, which now that we're talking about it was a bit low, but anywho, where did you have them? Who did you have in 10th? Sorry, Mouldy and Wax.
I had Reapers.
You had Reapers? Okay.
Fair. I had Sharklips.
Oh, interesting.
Honestly, from here all the way up, it started getting really difficult to separate teams. I think.
Yeah.
Do we want to put a couple teams in, or how do we want to do this? Do we just want to talk about a couple of the teams and then go from there, or?
Well, I mean, Reapers have already been placed, so we can maybe talk about them a bit, but we haven't talked much about Sharklips yet. So maybe Mouldy, you talk to us about your 10th place for Sharklips. Why have you put them down there?
Yeah, this was a really hard one.
Live. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. My internet just cut out.
Restart the whole thing?
Yeah, restart the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. No. Oh my god. Let me just do a quick Facebook post to let everyone know that it's back on. Oh, jeez. That's a stream moment if I've ever seen it. Stream
before it died.
is back on. My net cut out for no reason. Smart. Okay. That's so annoying. All right, whatever. We're back though. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're at 46 viewers, and then it died. Oh, we're back. We're back to 40 or 35. Okay. Reset. I'm back. I'm good. I don't. The last thing I said was, why did you put the Shark Clips team down in 10th place? And then my net cut out. So let's go from there.
Yeah. Just before I talk about them, does anyone know who is captaining? Is it Taipan?
So the meme is that Noodle's captaining, but there is no fucking world that Noodle is captaining. Taipan is captaining.
Taipan is captaining. Okay, yeah. When I look at like Shark Clips versus like Eclipse, obviously Method is a huge pickup, probably the best all-around player in WA. Mushu, haven't seen him in a while. One of my favorite players ever, but I'm not banking on him being amazing at this comp.
Yeah.
And then like they're lacking Dark Passion, who obviously is 4-time champion, massive gun to be lacking, and you replace Dark Passion with Noodle, who I know is an up and comer, but on paper, to me, if I just look at the players on that team and I think about playing that team versus playing other teams in this list, they don't scare me as much. And I could definitely be wrong about that, but I think, yeah, after the Devils, I think they're the next weakest team, even on paper, even with Method. So that's why I put them there.
I think for me,
yeah, you got a bit of insight, Wax, from because we had this whole roster played pre-nuts 1 in Sunny Coast, right?
Brock is spitting words right now. Holy, that is vile. Yeah, so Prenuts 1, they had this team, but minus Mopar. So
Okay.
and I think the way that they were playing worked really well, and they had really defined roles. Like they had Taipan captaining, Noodle last line, Method first out, Mushu on a door, Orkra on a door, and Orkra on a door with lockout is really strong. I think this is literally the best that Noodle has played ever, like at Prenuts 1, and he's improving. I don't know if he's improving a lot, but from what he was at maybe Nats to now is like is a really good amount.
Okay.
The way that Taipan captains, I think, works well on lockout and on and on one shot a second. And I know that Taipan and Orkrai both prefer one shot a second with stuns. I think Method played pretty well at Prenats. Like I didn't see anything like rust or anything. Mushu maybe a little bit more rust, but I also don't remember where Mushu was at before he stopped playing. So maybe it's the same, but I'm not 100% sure. And then I think if Mopar can just fit well into this team, it will be good. It just needs to be like not this isn't for Mopar specifically, but like it feels like at Prenuts they had a good plan, and if they somehow continue that into Worlds, they can definitely beat people that maybe people think that they shouldn't. And I think they're definitely higher than what you put them, but I don't know
How
if I'm
much higher?
confident in that.
Yeah.
And I also don't know because depending on Maze and how the meta like progresses and how like a team like One Up do and Dragons, like there are some teams that I'm kind of like,
yeah, it's so hard to tell ahead of time on these settings in this maze how any of these teams will play. And like that's even true for my own team against these teams. Like we could bomb even harder than we did in Hobart until we play.
No,
it's like impossible to know.
Damn. Yeah, I guess my little bit of insight. I mean, I had definitely had Shark Clips quite a bit higher. Let me see exactly how high. Yeah, and I think I remember watching the Prenat stream, and I remember thinking I actually messaged the Aftershock group chat, and I was like, I was kind of discounting Shark Clips because they're kind of like a mixed team, but like they're doing super well at this Prenats. Obviously different settings, different arena, but yeah, that was a lot of why I had them a couple spots higher than this, but I definitely get what you're saying. And then, yeah, Waxy was saying there's potentially another ankle injury here. No?
Yeah, or maybe not ankle, but something has happened with Orkrai, so I'm not 100% sure. And if they lose Orkrai, that's like a big hit, because for me,
he's one of their best brawlers, right?
Was one of the was probably for me from versing them was their biggest issue for us. Like Orkrai, you couldn't kill him. Like he was so good on a couple of the doors in Sunny Coast, and he was really solid. So I think if they lose Orcry, it's going to be like no good. But I think they can make it work even if they lose Orcry. I just don't think they're going to be as strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. He's like a raid boss, especially on the 60 MS, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't like my Tanifa pick in 10th place anymore either.
Do you think they're going to go higher? What's the vibe after? Because I still think like some of these Australian teams might take a bit more time to get into it, but when they do, I think at the end they might beat these New Zealand teams.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked much about Tanifa yet. I don't think, apart from the fact that they're a home team. So game captaining is actually Rogue, who last played at Hobart. And they've been running with that for most of this year. And I think overall it's gone pretty well. I think no one on that team at the start kind of wanted to captain or had the inclination to captain.
Sure.
And I think kind of just from drilling, they've gotten to a really good place with it. Rogue is like a really old, like she's been around for actually a long time and has a lot of that kind of Nexus 60 MS style stuff just ingrained in her. So as soon as we moved to 60 MS, she was just blackpacking the shit out of people. She's got a good dodge. Like of the non-Cobras players, she's probably the most annoying one for me to shoot right now. Non-Cobra squad, that is. Obviously, Four Eyes is incredibly difficult to shoot at all times. Four Eyes is playing like a god on the pack right now. Like last night, I couldn't shoot him anywhere. He can defend, he can attack. You know, everyone knows Four Eyes is a crazy good points player. Chaos, I mentioned. He's probably the weakest player on the team, but by no means weak. Arrow also has played a few Zultax, hasn't for a while, but does tend to play invites every year with Ace and Guinea.
Does she play more than that though?
Oh yeah, she trains every week.
Okay.
Yeah, so this whole team trains every week. Arrow plays weekly, and Arrow is like best comms probably on the team. Like not just volume, but like really good comms. Really reliable defender. Can keep you down black packed pretty well. Just a really reliable player. And then Tagora is a 6'8" lefty, with a big dickhead attitude. Like he's like it's like New Zealand
that is
Spider.
Not what I
All right,
going to say.
Okay, he's like New Zealand Spider. Probably not as good because obviously Spider has been playing at the highest level for a long time, but Tagora has climbed through the ranks of New Zealand laser tag very quickly.
You say 6'8"?
He's 6'8". Yeah.
Is he
That
coordinated, or is he like?
Yeah. You'd think he'd be like a baby giraffe stumbling around, but he can use his arms. Like if he was like my team's age and had been like around 10 years ago, he would have been on the Cobras for sure, but just from his sheer proportions alone. So he's really good in defense. Like there are positions in around these bases. He can deny you from anywhere. He talks mad shit. Good attitude, doesn't tilt. He's a good player. So I think this team could be a bit underrated.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think for me, just because I've looked ahead, we actually all have the same team in ninth. But looking at Sharklips and Tanifa, I think I'm leaning more towards. It's so hard, but if it wasn't a New Zealand team or a home site team, I wouldn't put them above Sharklips. But because it is, I'm kind of leaning towards that, and especially given like the potential injury with Orcry as well. I don't know. Wax, where did you have Sharklips? Yeah, they're quite high.
I really feel like we should talk about other teams right now.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to,
because we still haven't done the thing. We've kind of just done the thing where we've put 15th, 14th, and we're just going along, and it's been like kind of like okay. There's been a couple things, but there hasn't been like something random where it's been like actually fuck one up or something. Like we could talk about one up here.
Well,
like,
that's funny you say that.
Like,
in ninth place, we all had one up.
Or we just put them ninth and just that was clean.
Yeah,
that's had that.
Yeah, it was. We all had them in ninth. I don't know. I feel like
don't even know who's on the team for one up. Who's actually going? What's the squad?
Here we go. Guinea, yeah, Crouchy, Gunner, Dan, and they picked up Spider. So they originally had Butzer, but Butzer's had to pull out, and they've got Spider now instead. And they played that pre-nuts one with Spider as well.
Yeah. And I think they look pretty decent at prenuts. And I think with Gunner coming back, they'll be like even better.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like we also need to talk about 8th place as well. Given that we all have them.
I'm keen to like keep talking because like I feel like for me, this is the part where like we actually need to have a look at the teams. Maybe we do the thing where we just like highlight the teams that we think can be where we are or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do we just want to fill them in and then decide from there?
I think I'm gonna fill in the ones that we've predicted.
Okay.
And then it might become obvious which teams we need to talk about. So, in 8th place, who did you guys have? I actually had Sharklips in 8th place.
I had Tanifa.
I had Dragons.
Oh, interesting.
And Dragons. Yeah, so it does feel like Sharklips and Tanifa are definitely going to find their home in like that 10th to 8th spot. Wax, you want to tell us a little bit about the Dragons pick in 8th place?
I think I used up all my Dragons luck at Nationals and it's gone. Like, what did I think I put them 5th and they got 4th or whatever happened. And people are putting them like 8th and stuff. So I think it's over. Like they've used up all their magic. Like there's no Dragons magic now. Like, but like serious, I think that 7 players is rough for one, depending on how that works and if Nickel actually wants to play. Everyone's paying all this money to go over to New Zealand, and if they have 7 players and everyone wants to play, it might be a bit rough.
It's rough.
I think World settings,
especially a shorter tournament.
They played with 8 for Worlds 2014, if you recall. Oh,
yeah,
you guys probably both were you. Neither of you would have been there, right? Yeah, they had 8.
I started.
They had 8. Yeah, they had 8 for Worlds in Sunshine Coast, which was just fucking crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good.
But I'm not sure how much Nico is going to play. Like he might be a fully fledged player with the rest of them, but I know he's bringing his family and playing side events. So I'm not sure to what degree, because he was a late add. Like he wasn't originally on the registered team. He got added later, and I thought maybe he had been added in the same way that Vantage originally added Ghibli. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
Before we talk about, does anyone know of any ankle injuries for the Dragons? Is there anything going on there?
Surely one of them. Someone has had to have done something.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I just think I had the Dragons quite a bit higher.
As did I.
A lot of that was because they had a really strong Nationals in Albury. They did super well. Gus has played. Did he also go to? Because I know there was a few Australians that went to the 2017 Worlds. Was Gus among them?
Yep. Yes, he was. Yep.
Yeah. So Gus has gone to like 2 Worlds. As far as I'm aware, he's even gone to a Sweenats before. Nuffa's also gone to Worlds. Was Nuffa on that? Nuffa didn't go to 2017 Worlds, did he?
No,
I don't think so.
Nuffa seems like the type of guy that would like die on Nexus sped. So like he's gonna love like lockout and stuff.
Yeah, I think I just think Gus has like so much experience on the settings, different kinds of tournaments. So he's going to have a lot of insight, I think, and going to really help get the other guys up to speed that haven't played one shot per second stuns as much. If there's any Canberra people in the chat, can you let us know how much training you guys have done on the world settings? That'd be a really interesting talking point. But obviously, I agree. I think the trigger lockout will suit Nuffa quite well. It'll be interesting to see how the newer players like Shifter and Finn go. Garn is always just like a, steady, consistent player, and VG, like we know VG's cracked. But again, I don't know if he how that translates to one shot per second stuns. I imagine he's still like super good.
Yeah, because the way he plays is so like he plays further back and he snipes people and stuff. You know what's criminal? The fact that he was looking for doubles partners. What world are we in?
Who didn't want him?
VG. Just
that's insane.
It's crazy. People in the chat are saying, Finn's saying they've been playing world settings. So yeah, I think for me, I think Dragons down in 8th is a little bit low. I think they should at least be a couple spots above that, just given all of that. I don't know. Have you guys got any other thoughts for the Dragons? Oh,
I feel like we're just somewhat glossed over 1UP though.
Yeah, I feel like we
wanna
should
go
go
back
back and
to-
maybe talk
we
about
can
one up.
circle back to 1UP as well.
Because like I think if they play in a way where maybe they like Spider last lines, I think he'll be really solid. Like even if last lining isn't good, I can just see Spider standing on one of the doors and just like existing and like pretty much being last line while like controlling an alley and like doing so much for the team.
Yeah.
And like if the others just put it together in a good way and they have Crouching Gunner as the main two attackers, and even if they just play like 2-3 and Crouching Gunner just run at a base for 10 minutes and then they just defend their base well, I think I don't know. The 1UP was always weird, right? Because like when I think of 1UP, I think of like good dueling players. So like lockout, stuns, all these things is really good for them. Guinea, yeah, always do well on
In
lore and stuff. And I just think that the way that the maze plays, if they can play it in a slower fashion and slow the game down, which I do think is going to happen, I think that they'll actually do maybe even better than this. But I think this is like the safe 1UP thing where it's like, let's not over.
I mean, how many times have like predictions like had 1UP quite a lot higher, and then they've been like even there in the chat they're like, why are you guys doing this? And then the tournament comes, and then they don't reach that. But yeah, I think can you talk to a little bit about how they performed with Spider at Prenuts?
I think so. I don't want to yap too much, but I think like Cairns was too fast for them at Prenets. It was kind of like Cairns. There was some things that happened where like Cairns was like running behind people, like trying to get people to go faster, and they're not just used to the speed that Cairns kind of wanted from them, and Cairns wasn't used to the speed that they were going as well. Like I heard a story about like at one point Spider was like Cairns was like bounce, and Spider was dueling someone, and then Cairns Spider was waiting for the person to spawn, and Ken said, no, just bounce. And he just kept dueling the person. So then Ken shot Spider so that he would just leave because of like just how the mentality of Spider is like, no, my GRC, like that one extra tag. Like, but I genuinely think that it was kind of like a rough, what I'm trying to get to is like the Can's captaining with them was kind of a rough thing to happen. And I don't think it like gelled really well. I think it was fine at Prenuts, but it wasn't like a good fit. Where I think like now they can have their running duo of Crouching Gunner, they can have like a solid defense, and if they just like work out a way to play that works for them, I think that they can actually like beat some of the teams above them 100%.
Yeah. Mouldy, have you got anything you want to add?
Look, Guinea plays invites every year, which is one shot per second and stuns, with varying levels of success. I think people should go back and watch the NZ Open stream from this year because Guinea and Crouchy played on a half Reapers team for that tournament. And you could learn a lot about how 1UP might play this from watching them, but they did not perform to the level that I know both of those players are capable of. Like Guinea and Crouchy are both very strong pack-on-pack players, and I don't feel like their stats really showed that, or their effectiveness in game. A couple of times they would go together because I think they would wanted to train as a pair. They'd go to a base and just get absolutely shut down. Though I feel like they may have played half of that comp like either super hungover, super drunk, or both. So
Amazing.
I think we did a Worlds training day on the day after the comp that they were going to, except they sent a message at 4 a.m. to someone saying we're not gonna make it, because I think they had hit the casino again. But maybe a sober 1UP will perform to the level that they can perform, but just based on like I put them down this low based on their Nats results from the last couple of years. And from seeing Guinea and Crouchy play in the actual World's Maze fairly recently.
Yeah, and I mean, I had 1UP in 9th, just speaking to the level of the all the teams like above the top half of this tournament is like really, really strong. Same thing. I had 1UP on the bottom end of those top teams just because of what we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, and this is the strongest field that Worlds has ever seen, for sure. Like, as time goes on and players get better and average, like, the overall level of the comp goes up. Like, I think there are, 8 teams that could make grand finals for this comp. It's just really hard to judge. The last couple worlds, that was never true that many teams could even get close to grand finals.
The beauty that COVID took away from us. I'm still mad about
Yeah,
that.
2020 would have been lit.
I was very keen to. I'd booked flights and the com. I was ready to go. Yeah.
Like that worlds would have been so. All right, I'm not gonna go on a tangent.
Yeah, don't bring it up. I'm just gonna start crying.
Especially like learning like all the EU stuff now. I'm like, bro, all the teams were gonna be there. Like, actually depressing.
Yeah, it's a big feels bad, but circling back, looking at this set of 3 teams, has anyone got any feelings about teams they want to move up, teams they want to move down? For me, I'm given the injury, potential injury with Orkarai and just like Mouldy gassing up Tanifa, I'm happy to have Shark Lips in 10th, bring them down, then move Tanifa up personally.
And then move one up to 8th.
I'm okay with that, but I will just say that I have Shark Lips in 7th, so it's not like it's like right there.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to live or die on Tanifa's position. If you guys think they should go below all those Australian teams, that's fine by me. I hope they prove us wrong. But yeah, don't let me bully you into putting Tanifa further than you two want to put them.
I'm fine with what you just said, Ryan. Just put Shark Clips in 10th, and then Tanifa in 9th, and then one up in 8th.
Yeah.
I do think that Shark Lips.
It's hard. I feel like there could be so much moving around here. And yeah, I agree. If Shark Lips are on and Orkarai is like fine, I see them being like 1 or 2 spots above for sure. But yeah, just given the information we have in the discussion, I think I'm gonna settle on. We could obviously, if we get to 7th and 6th and we're like, what are we doing? And we want to change stuff, we can obviously do that as well. These aren't set in stone.
Do we want to just finish off the next 2 just so we can kind of get a vibe of what's happening?
Yeah.
People's predictions.
Yeah. Let's do that. So, who did y'all have in 7th? I actually had Storm.
I had Shark Lips in 7th.
Shark Lips. Whack. Mouldy?
I had Aftershock. Sorry.
What the hell, man? Whatever.
Yeah.
Look, if it's based on our Albury performance, fair enough.
Well, it was a very different team, wasn't it? I might have undervalued you here, but
well, that's cool.
I don't care. I'm gonna, I said it, so I'm gonna fucking stand by it. Aftershock in 7th. Yeah.
We might as well chuck 6th in there as well. So, who did you guys all have in 6th place?
I think I had Storm.
Storm. Yeah.
I had somewhat spicy, I guess. I had Cobras in 6th.
Ooh.
Nice. Well, that's only fair, I think. Given
yeah, I got your back, Ryan. I got you.
Thanks, bro. Okay. So I mean, Shark Lips we have already placed, but we might circle back to them as well. Teams here. Let's talk about these teams that are here. So we have Aftershock, Storm, Cobras, and the Dragons. We already talked about the Dragons a little bit. So I mean, let's talk about Storm for a bit. So, Wax, what insights can you give us about Storm, in maybe in terms of how well you think they'll go because of like the world settings, how maybe they felt about 60 MS, because obviously like these players played pre-nats 1, all of that kind of jazz.
Well, I'll start with not 100% sure if Cairns is playing or not. AES 50-50 right now. Like he's on this list, but I've got no idea. I don't actually think he's playing, but not locked in.
Sure.
I think initially they had signed up for Worlds and they were kind of against the settings and they weren't having too much fun, and like I just got a really bad vibe from them, and I think initially it was a bit rough. But I think now it's kind of like been a while and it's been a little bit better. I think at Prenats they split up a little bit. Like they had Cyrex and Shock and Moss with 3 newbies, and then they had Firebird was on the second last team, so not great for Brock, but I think it was rough with what happened at Prenats. And Potato was on the Boys Back in Town, and
Mhm.
Potato is one of the. I feel like Potato is one of those players where like he always just plays well enough. Like it's fine. It just depends on motivation and like where he's at. Like if he really cares, he'll do a little bit better. If he doesn't, he'll just like kind of exist and do enough.
Mhm.
I think the interesting thing that I don't know if it's going to happen at Worlds or not, but Shock is captain now. So,
Cool.
Oh,
and I actually think he's good at it. Like the way he is like he's just going to do things and he thinks that he's kind of got a little bit of an, not a little bit, he has an ego about him. So he's going to think he's making the right call and he's not probably going to hesitate and there's not going to be any like thought process there. It's going to be more like there will be thought. Like, I'm not saying he's like stupid. There'll be thought, but it's more intuition and he's very like switched into the game and stuff. So I think that switch is actually really strong for them. I do think that if Cairns is there or without Cairns, no matter what, this team is very attack heavy. And I think that there's going to be a lot of like 3-man hits, very fast gameplay. And if this maze slows down at all, which I think it, by the looks of it, it's going to, I think they'll be fine, but I think they might struggle at times. And I think we're going to see some, like in Aubrey, some dumping and some some hard aggression to try and like eke some stuff out.
Yeah, hard aggression is tricky on 6GMS, depending on the maze. But if you do a 3-man or 4-man quick hit where you run over to a base, but you will get shot on the way, it's not like Zero, like the old pro days where you all double and one of you gets up because you've got more players and you just walk in and take it. Like, depending on your sequencing as you come in, you can run in, die, and stay dead for as long as the defense wants you to stay dead. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how well the quick hit will work. It depends how you coordinate it. So I think
And
a lack of defense is a problem. Yeah.
Their coordination, I think their defense will be okay with Moss and Cyrex. It'll just be the coordination. I think their coordinated 3-man hits are actually probably one of their strongest things they have. So I think if it is good enough to be coordinated, I think they'll be fine. And I think they're definitely going to try and set the pace of the game a lot. And that might work, or that might just get absolutely shifted.
Yeah. I guess speaking to my placements, I've put them in 7th. Again, the top half of this tournament was really hard to place, but I put them in 7th just on the narratives I've heard about them not being super keen on the settings. And I feel like if you're playing a tournament on settings you don't enjoy, like you're inherently just not going to do as well. So that was a lot of it. Though, yeah, again, kudos to Cyrex, Shock, Moss. They made the grand finals. Prenuts won with like 3 brand new players. Obviously, it was a home arena for those new players. And the Queensland new player means a totally different thing than it does anywhere else. But yeah, I think the change of like Shock captaining is super interesting. Interesting to see how like Firebird's going to like fit into that now that he's not in that leading position anymore. I would be happy to put Storm up higher for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Mouldy, have you got any other thoughts for Storm at all?
I think Wax covered it pretty well. I think Storm is a team who could do very, very well, but could also, like, just like mental game, as you say, not enjoying it. They could just bomb hard. It's really hard to say. If they lose Cans, I think that's a huge hit to the team in terms of experience. And like as you say, but like
mentally though, it's slightly better. So I think the atmosphere will be slightly better. So I think if they can keep vibes high, they will be fine.
Yeah, I guess it will hinge on the captaining skills of their new captain then, as to how they'll go. And I have not seen it enough to make any kind of call on that. So
yeah, I think Shock will be like, from what I've seen and like what I hear from him, especially with like the Cyrex kind of being like that paper-ish captain where she like has a lot of like knowledge about the game and stuff. I think she can feed him a lot, and I think he knows a lot. It's just more about like, so like literally the same problem as me. Like, you just can't speak, so he's just got to like learn. Like, and Cyrex can take hold of that and like before the game plan things out and stuff.
Well, the other two teams here that we haven't really spoken about yet is Aftershock and the Cobras. So, Mouldy, you can start off talking about us since you've put us in 7th place. Talk to us about that one.
Oh, you sound so bitter, Ryan.
No, not me.
No, honestly, like, it might be slightly a mean position. I think I was probably just thinking about your result last year without really thinking about how different of a team that was, because I don't think Aftershock were very impressive last year compared to their heights. And I see that you don't have Benny anymore, so the average like skill of the team has gone up a bit. And yeah, it depends how well Fuggin plays coming back. I don't know. That's hard to say.
Is
Like,
Fuggin captaining?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Fuggin's captaining.
course.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuggin, okay, so Fuggin, no one knows who captains Aftershock. Fuggin captained Bendigo and Hobart.
Yeah, I knew this. I just didn't know if maybe
Yeah.
he wanted to like chill because he hasn't played
Nah.
much.
No, he loves it. He loves it.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's a big W for me.
I mean, look, we're at the point of the rankings where any of these teams could make finals, I think. And it was really hard to split hairs on them. I think having just had the discussion on Storm, I would probably swap Aftershock and Storm. And I know you've got 6, so how often you play Beefy is going to depend on how well you do as well, because I think the things that Beefy are really good at, this maze is worthless to him. So I think Beefy may struggle in this maze, because Beefy's good at like finding a weird wall to stand on, right, and then just holding the shit out of it, and being unstoppable on it. But I don't think that play style works well here. I think you need to be pretty quick. I don't think Beefy's that quick anymore. Yeah,
Last time he
I
ran
don't know.
quick, he tore his calf muscle in Hobart.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like Beefy won't be able to play at his highest potential. I don't know how well Fuggin is playing, having been away for a little bit of time. Right? He was in Japan for 6 months or something. Is that accurate? Or he was? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Has Chutch been playing much or training much?
Yeah. So basically, Chutch and Fuggin took quite a bit of time off, but since I got back from the US Nationals in early July or something, Chutch and Fuggin have been there every single week, and we've been playing every week on the world settings as well.
Yeah. So with that knowledge, I think it probably bumps Aftershock up in my estimation, because just training on the correct settings seems to be something that like Queensland is not doing enough. So perhaps you've been underrated here.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out.
I 100% think you've been underrated here. I have faith.
Thanks.
I have faith in the 4th place.
Yeah, the 4th place is coming strong. No, I think I'll talk a little bit about our team. So we have been obviously the same roster we had for Bendigo Nats and the same roster we had for Hobart Nats, which are our 2 strongest years. Obviously, Dossie didn't play that year, but the same 5. And it's been super good, super cool to have the full team that we had back then back. I've obviously got a lot of insight after playing the US Nats tournament in terms of at least like micro plays and stuff, like making use of the 1 shot per second stuns and stuff. So I've been able to bring a lot back home. Chach, I was a little worried that she like wasn't going to play super well. She had a bunch of time off, and she was also like, I don't know how I feel about the world settings. But then after a couple of weeks, she's like, I love this shit. These settings are so much more fun. And then she's been classic Chach. So she's been in form. Mikey, as always, super consistent, probably the most consistent player on the team, I think. And Mikey, when he's not in a captaining position, which he was in Albury, his like shooting ability like goes up. So
I think Mikey really struggles with like the too many things at once. Like as soon as he can just focus on himself, it's going to be so much better. Yeah.
Dossie, will be interesting to see how Dossie goes, because Dossie is kind of our last line specialist. Obviously Mouldy's saying how like last line like isn't really a position in these spaces, especially because they're 3 doors. That being said, we were in Bendigo, we were saying that there's not really a good last line position there either, but we were one of the teams that made really good use of it. And our 3 defense with Dossie in last line in a base that wasn't great for last lining, he did super good. and that was off like we had a bunch of like setups with the defense, communication stuff that made it work. So if we can cook up something there, Dossie once again could be a super strong last line, and then Fargan had to shake a little bit of rust off, but he's he's back. He's good. He's great, and I think a really important thing is he actually loves captaining. He doesn't want to play any other position really. We've been training every week. Trainings have been good. And we've been fortunate enough we've been able to play team games for the last few weeks as well. The players we've had coming have been really like pushing us, like playing super hard. I'm pretty confident going into this, but also I understand the recency bias. Our last tournament, granted it was a different roster, was not very strong. But there's a bunch of variables there. So I don't think we'll have a repeat of our Albury performance.
Can I just ask as well, Mouldy, considering I feel like you guys don't really have a last line. Is that like a big component of why you might feel that last lining in this maze is bad? Because maybe no one's super strong in last line? Is that like...
Look, I've seen a few people last lining a particular position. I just think it's not really quite the same as last lining in Australia. I think you're always exposed somewhere. Whereas I feel like the classic Australian two-door base, where even though you might not be watching a side, you're still not exposed to that side. And that you're basically, if you're in the base, you're exposed to a door always. So it's tricky. I think there is a spot that you could last line in, and I expect people like Jellyhawk to do that. But I don't know how effective that will be. But you are right that we don't have a dedicated last line, so it's possible we will see people making good use of it.
Yeah. Also, just quickly, obviously, Benny was originally on the Aftershock roster, and we had 7 because we weren't sure like who was actually going to be able to go. The plan was always to play with 6, but we just registered with 7 because we weren't sure who of the 6 would actually be going. And then it ended up being Benny wasn't the one coming, and not to say that he's a weak player by any means. In fact, in all of the trainings the last month, he has been an absolute menace. He has been so good. He's like main character Benny is back.
Burners.
Dude,
so mad that you guys like, I'm not on the starting team.
Maybe, but he's like consistently, it'll be like just him at our base, like by himself, and then like I might come back to the defense initially and I'll go like, nah, like it's just one person, I'll leave. And then like Benny just gets our base every single game within like 30 seconds. So I just want to say Benny's been cracked, and he's been one of the players that has been really pushing us in our trainings. But
does Benny have a gun to your head right now? Is he off to the side of your camera, or?
No. I just to look out for my little bro.
He's standing next to you.
I'm just trying not to wink now. Oh my god. Okay. So we talked a bit about Aftershock. I mean, does anyone have any other things they want to say before we move on to talking about another team?
Should I start talking about?
We can start talking about the what?
The Cobras.
Oh right, I was like, what do you mean? We could talk about the Cobras a bit as well. So talk to us through your placement in.
I don't want to
6th.
hard send this because I don't think that you guys have put them here, but I think that from what was seen when they have come to Australia, and I understand that like it is not on Aussie settings, but I think like skill can translate very well across settings, and I don't think it's the end of the world if you have like really good knowledge of the game and stuff. I think the big issue is 60ms, and I think most of Australia is used to 60ms now. Because we've all been practicing it at least. And I think that you guys have been kind of on your own little island, and every time you leave to come to Australia, it is worse than maybe you expect. And I think at first you guys will be pretty strong home team. But I think if the Australians can get into it, it'll be a lot harder than maybe you guys aren't expecting it to be like a good time, but I think it might be more difficult when we get there. But I also think we should pause this conversation and talk about you guys later, because I'm going to guess that both of you put Cobras maybe a bit higher than I did. I
only had them one spot higher.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm happy to give a little insight on the team now as well then. obviously I put us higher, and that's not even necessarily thinking we'll do that well. It's just gotta back the team.
Got to back the boys.
I think fifth and sixth. I think that's what you've put us is pretty reasonable based on our last performance. So obviously pre-COVID, we had 2 seconds, 2 fourths, and a fifth. So generally a pretty threatening team.
Mhm.
And then COVID happened, and we got really old and fat and washed, and then we came back to Hobart. I don't think anyone could deny that our pack skill was there, even though we don't play H2. Like, we got doubles trophies, triples trophies, and we had 2 in the final 9 of lore. So that was not our problem. Our problem has been just the simple fact that in New Zealand, barring once a year tournaments, we don't have the players to play team games. And so the cohesion we used to have pre-COVID when we were playing team games, like we used to have leagues and stuff, like that kind of gone. And it's really, really hard to get it back. When you're not playing full team games. It's just if we played a 2v3 in any of these bases, if we played Swedish base run at this comp, we would clean it up. Like, I have no doubt we would absolutely obliterate anybody on that format. In the team game, it remains to be seen how we will play. I will say that we didn't really have a game captain at Hobart, and when you're coming back from a long time of not playing team games, and then you try to have this kind of psychic connection that the original Cobras team had, because we didn't really have a game captain then, but when we got our seconds, we really planned things out and then kind of executed, and in the Hobart maze, that was just not possible. Hence our 8th place. I think if we'd had one game captain the whole comp long, I don't think we would have made grand finals, but I think we would have probably come about 5th or 4th. But I like that you guys have put us lower than grand finals, because it kind of takes that expectation off, because people think, oh, home team must win. But a lot of our home advantage, if you will, is gone, because we did not get the packs until a couple of weeks ago. So we don't really have an H2 advantage. All of our bases are the same shape, which means it's faster to learn the arena. And we got that new section of arena that completely changes the meta of the maze, open only in the last 2 months. So that home advantage is gone as well. So I think anyone from the outside or who hasn't been in laser tag for a while might think, oh, Cobra's at home worlds, surely must win. I think what you guys have talked about or are going to talk about, it's pretty clear that I don't think anyone's expecting us to win, even with the home advantage. I don't think anyone's thinking that the home advantage is so strong that we must win. I think we can win, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, it's hard to not just go back on the last performance we saw. And then, the Cobras we saw in Hobart did look like they were struggling a bit. I think it being the home arena and settings that I think that you guys, would you say you guys generally prefer these settings as well?
Oh, we play these settings half the year in a normal year. It's one of the reasons we don't do that well at Ziltec anymore, is that we don't even play year round on Ziltec settings. So we do like stuns and 1 shot per second, and we've played it for a long time.
I think again, I could, like you were saying, Mouldy, I could very easily see any team from the top 8, top 7 making the grand final, and the Cobras is definitely like in that camp for me. I think just bit of recency bias, and then also just, again, speaking to the strength of the other teams around. That's why I put you guys in. Where did I have you? Was it 6th? 6th, yeah. Oh,
and
no,
I think 100% for me, like, there's no world where you guys don't just come out all like guns blazing and you like take first place and you do like really well at first. And I just think over the comp, I think people will catch up. But what extent that is to, I'm interested in seeing.
It could actually go the other way, right? It could be that we come out losing because while we have the knowledge of the maze and the pack skill, we don't have the cohesion, and we build that over the comp and climb. Cobras like to climb historically, so I think anything is possible at this point.
Yeah. I think this top 7 is crazy. I reckon maybe 7, maybe 8's pushing it slightly, but the top 7 for me, I think, is pretty.
It's a tough
field. Strong.
Yeah.
Or maybe top 6. I think top 6 is like, I think any of those teams for me could do it.
Do we feel confident or a little comfy putting any team in 7th or 6th, or not yet? should we talk about maybe the fifth place team as
where
well?
did you put dragons, Mouldy?
1 second. I had dragons in 5th. Yeah,
Oh.
I have dragons next. Yeah.
Yeah, who did you have in 5th, Wax?
I had Storm in 5th.
Storm. I think I had Cobras. So we do have. It is pretty much, yeah, it's between Storm, Dragons, and Cobras by the looks for the 7th, 6th, and 5th spot. So I guess.
I really think, like, team-wise and cohesion-wise, Storm definitely beats out on Dragons in that. In that, and maybe skill-wise on Lockout, Dragons could maybe be better. But I think as a team, Storm is just so well organized, and like, if they can work it out, I think they'll be pretty strong.
Yeah. Mouldy, how much do you think like brawling and like one-on-one duels play into this arena? Like, is it the type of arena where you need to win those to get anywhere, or is it not the case?
I think if you're a player who can come up from DAC and beat an active player on 60 MS, regardless of the maze, if you have multiple players like that on your team who can do it reliably, you're going to win the tournament. I think 60 MS is that much of an advantage. And in general, all of these top players should be 90% keeping someone down or doubling, but probably 70% plus just straight up keeping them down.
Yes.
So for me, brawling on 60 MS is actually less important than brawling was previously. On H20 MS, I think brawling was extremely important. I think with 60 MS, it's really more about your player positioning and not your brawling. I think brawling helps if you can take advantage of somebody's weak brawling. But at the top end, if we assume everyone has a base level of competency at brawling, then really the way you play the meta and the locations, it matters more.
Sure. And who out of these teams, who do we think is gonna kind of make more use of that? Because for me, I just picture the Dragons as a little bit more of a brawly team versus like Storm and the Cobras.
See, the Dragons are a team that sometimes I watch them, like even when I'm reffing, I watch them and I go, what are you doing? Like, this makes no sense to me. But then they come fourth at the tournament. Yeah. You know? Like, they're a team that I think have forever been underrated from what they're actually capable of. And I think when they started bringing in some of these newer players and losing some of the old players, I think people discounted them even further. And I think that was a mistake. I just think there's something about that team. I don't know what it is. But I love watching them play. I just back them. Like, I know they didn't have it. Like, they lost to 1UP, right, at their home comp. Did I hear that? I didn't actually watch the comp, but they had a Worlds comp recently in Canberra, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but like, to me, even the result of that tournament is irrelevant. I just back the Dragons. But if you said I think Storm beats Dragons, then I would be like, sure, okay. I think it's a toss up.
Realistically, if Dragons enjoy one shot a second and stuns more than Storm, it's if anything gets rough for Storm, it might be rough because their mentality going into this isn't great. So, but if they get there and they enjoy it and they enjoy the maze and blah 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 blah, they kind of get it under their feet a little bit more. Storm, even this year at Nats, was the better team 100%. I just think the Dragons somehow just like put it together so randomly that it like works. You throw it at the wall and it works sometimes, and it's just. And if that works here, then like, but I think with Lockout, you can't do that as much because it's like you're gonna have to work together to get a base to do these things. Otherwise, you're just dead. You're just dead. Nuffle, where are you? I'm dead. Like, it's just like the team cohesion might be more of an issue for me here. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't play like that. Maybe like that's how I imagine it playing.
I think that's a reasonable argument. Yeah.
I think is anything sticking out to you boys for any placements?
Would really like to put Dragons here, but I also think that they're this like we said, they're the stupid team that could come forth or whatever. They could like do some stupid shit, but I think that this is the like safe Dragons bet for me.
Sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard. I could so
And, like-
easily see Storm beating Dragons, but then there's another universe where I can so easily see the Dragons beating
Like Finn's
Storm. It's
saying
like
in
really
chat,
hard to pick.
100% win rate against Storm, and that might be true, but I think a little bit more chaos on non-lockout can work, and that's why Dragons get away with it, because you can just stand next to someone on a door, kill them, walk in, and get a base. Where on here, I just don't see that happening. Like, it's not going to happen. They're going to have to use cohesion to, like, crack a base and stuff.
I think between Gus and VG, like that experience, I think the cohesion could be there. Like Gus has a side event medal at Worlds. Like I think they have the players to do it if they can keep themselves under control.
Yeah.
No,
I'm pretty happy with my Storm in 7th and the Dragons just above them in 6th. Again, just circling back to like the fact that just highlighting Gus again. He has been to many like 2 worlds, probably I'm pretty sure a Sweenats as well. I think generally 60 MS is going to suit the Dragons more than Storm. So for that, I'm happy to put Storm in 7th and the Dragons in 6th. Where are you guys at?
I am fine with that. Yeah,
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then
Amazing.
Cobra's 5th. I'm okay with that.
Well, let's talk about.
You put 6th and 5th, but yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the 4th place team as well first. So, who did all of you guys have in 4th?
Vantage.
I also had Vantage.
I had Aftershock.
Boom. Cool. Oh, wait, I put it in the wrong order. Whoopsie. And whoop. Cool. Mouldy, do you want to start us off talking about your Vantage pick in 4th?
Yeah, I guess the implied thing that I'm not saying directly by putting him in 4th is that I've put the Finnish team in the top 3 above Vantage, which is, without a lot of knowledge, it's quite wishful thinking because I'm hoping for a 3-team final. So if we just kind of take the Finnish team out of the equation for a second, put Vantage below us and Cobras and Vikings, primarily because they have a couple of players not from their regular Catalyst Wolfpack lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Zam's a good player, but he doesn't train with them. And Pug Salad, I think, again, is a good up-and-comer, but I haven't seen how well he plays at the top tier yet. And I'm not, from watching them play compared to the Vikings players, I'm not really sure how well Lilbo and Wham Fox will play on these settings. Obviously, Wax and Husky, you just always bet to always be at the absolute top level of the sport. And I think even without knowing how good Wham's going to be, he's a multiple-time champion and he's always going to be reliable. So I think they're an absolute top team, and it's really hard to pick from the top 4. It's the reason I put them above all the other Australian teams except Vikings is just on that pure history of them being champions by and large. And even in recent years, having lost to the Vikings twice, they still were convincing second places. There was those were the 2 best teams of those comps, hands down. No one was close in the last 2 years to Vikings Catalyst. No one. So I think they're a pretty good pick at that level.
Yeah, and I think I've also put them in 4th place, and that was again largely in multiple variations of my predictions list, I had them in 2nd and 3rd, but I just bumped them down in my last one because I got to back the boys. And also there's just wishful thinking that I really, really hope that this Finnish team can come and do super, super well on their native settings and actually make the grand finals, because that would be super, super cool. But yeah, and I think also, you kind of alluded to, Mouldy, the fact that we have Pug, Salad, and Zam, not to say they're bad players, but they're just not from that normal Catalyst lineup, so I don't think we can think of it as the same team. That being said, Pug Salad was captain of, I think the team name was Riptide in Albury, and Riptide just absolutely destroyed Aftershock in every single game we versed them, and big part of that was Pug Salad is a very, very, very good and capable player. Wax, I remember you saying like back when the Worlds teams were first getting announced that Pug was actually going to captain, but that's not the case anymore, is it? It's you captaining Worlds.
Yeah, I think long story short, I'm mentally ill and I don't trust people very well, and I've kind of realized that that's like it's hard to like find someone who can deal with that, and I just need to be better in a way where like I think that I'm mature enough now and I like understand things better now that me captaining is like best outcome for me because I can still do what I want and I can still play the game how others want to, but I can determine what's happening, and that puts me in a better spot mentally than having to trust someone else to make decisions, which I find very difficult.
Yeah.
So I think at first I was keen for Pug to captain, and I thought it was the best idea, but I hadn't. In the back of my mind, I had always wanted to captain, but I just didn't want to start that conversation yet. And then I had prenups to at Albury, and then actual nationals and like wanting to captain, but not like pursuing it. So I kind of like realized that like I think I should just do it. Like I need to step up and do it and like stop being stupid about it and just like
Sure.
it's unfair on Pug to put him in captaincy role of one of the like the most decorated teams ever, and like the pressure of like him doing that would be like kind of fucked. So I was like, this is like not a good decision to make. So I just and it's something like I would like to just captain from now. Like I'm like I want to do this as a thing all the time, and I want to get better at it. I will start by saying like we've played with Zam a little bit. I play a lot of games with Zam, and Zam is one of the best. He is the best gel player. He's the best glue player I've ever played with in like video games. He will do anything that like he'll do the shit. He'll just do everything that he needs to do to like fill into a team, but as soon as you give him that opening to like play better and like that space to play better, he will play like he will pop off because he can do that. It's just he's always that glue. So I think if you have that middle ground where like he's the glue, but gets opportunities to like do pushes and do things in a Lestag game, I think that can translate really well. And like for me, Pug is literally like I don't want to gas him up too much, but like Pug is like fucking really good. Like his timing is insane. His diving, attacking is really good. His defense is a bit shit because he just like wants to fight people and he's just like, yeah, come here, you little bitch. But like I think that might be fine here. But like he's really crazy. And like we've been practicing a lot of stuff and like working to try and practice for Worlds, and I think like it's good because he kind of listens really well, and like I can kind of tell him exactly what to do so we can get good things going and stuff. I think Wham and Little Bo. Wham is not super keen on like not on world settings. I just don't think he's keen on playing lace tag, so he's just kind of like here for the boys. I think it is a little bit rough at times, but there is times as well where Wham like recently I feel like Wham has been like I need to be better. Like I'm being better. Like I'm improving. I'm thinking about what I'm doing and stuff. And like Little Bo, I think will struggle a little bit at first because I think some of the stuff he does with like his movements and weird things, like he crouches down on a knee a lot and does some weird stuff that like and 90-degree angles and stuff that I think he's gonna have to get used to like not doing because he's gonna get termed. So I think at first it'll be a bit rough, but hopefully he can work way through it. And I think from looking at the maze, these bases could suit Little Bo in a way, like a little bit more autistic, just like moving around a little bit, cat sitting in different corners and whatnot. And I think it will be like very useful for him. So.
Sure. And what's the general feelings about one shot per second stuns and 60 ms for the team? Do you reckon?
I didn't even like Husky literally is whatever. Like he's like one of those like people who doesn't even like he notices it, but he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot you anyway. You're dead anyway. Like whatever.
Yeah. Chach is the same.
Yeah. But I think the vibe is okay. Like I think there's been some points where it's like, fuck me, this sucks. But it's like at times it's like okay. I think the biggest hater is Wham, but like he hates it because he just sits there shitting on people and he's like, this is no fun. Let me have fun. So it's like it's kind of like what you're the guy having fun. I'm sitting here getting destroyed every game. Like, what do you mean? So I think mentality is pretty good with it ish. So but we haven't been able to play one shot a second stuns too much.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I don't know. We've talked a lot about 60 MS, but not a lot about stuns and one shot per second. I know for me, I play very differently on one shot per second stuns versus 2 shots per second, just because like the cadence of it is so different. Like the little skill sets, like half like faking, so they pull a shot and then you have a full second to run at them, is like super valuable on one shot per second stuns. Baiting stuns and then using that to like move across the arena, move to better positions. Like there's lots of things that you don't think about at all on 2 shots per second, no stuns, that are like really, really useful on 1 shot per second and stuns. And also, I think genuinely a really, really big thing is, in my experience at least, when you stun someone, that person has that, whether that person has any success dodging out of the stun or not, is how much it stresses you out. And knowing how to use you being stunned to stress out another player is like super valuable. So I think you guys not playing a lot of 1 shot per second stuns, you've talked a lot about 60 MS wax, but I think the difference in the shot rate and the stuns is actually like really big. I don't know, Mouldy, have you got some thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. Like 1 shot per second versus 2, like the baiting, very important. And then it's just the instinct of what happens when you get stunned. If you don't train that very often, you get stunned, you're like, well, now what do I do with it? Do I just try to dodge? Where do I move? Where do I go? And like when we have players who've only been playing on 2 shots per second, no stuns, and then you bring stuns into it, they don't even realize they can run into the base while they're stunned, right? Like they feel like they're deactivated and they're not. And I think one point that no one has really brought up yet in regards to like these settings and stuns is, in the last couple of years since we've had H2, a lot of very prominent high-end laser tag players have been hitting phaser at a massive, massive rate in Zoltec settings, because it's always open. I think I've seen games where someone like Twinkles comes out and he's hit like 60% phaser or something, right?
It's crazy.
If you only aim phaser at Worlds, you never get a fucking kill, right?
Yeah.
You're only gonna get stuns. So I think that is a big difference. I think if you're defending a door like at Ziltec and someone just walks forward and kind of does the slow bait and you hit each other in the gun, in Ziltec that would be a double. But in Worlds, if the defensive player who is only showing phaser can hit you in the chest, you might get a stun on them, but you haven't broken the door, right? You haven't broken their position. So I think that key skill set of H2 that the top players have developed is less useful because of stuns. I think,
and speaking like from the US Nationals, which was on H2, with like the IR was turned down a lot, but it was stun central. There was so many stuns. It felt like every time you killed someone, you had to stun them once or twice first. It was crazy. Just definitely a H2 moment. But there's a lot of people like surprised in the chat that we have Vantage in fourth, like not in the grand final. But for me, yeah, a big part of that was just like everything we've heard, Wax, about how you guys haven't really played a lot on the settings, and just my own experiences at the US Nats, and then knowing how many adjustments we've had to make in our own training on these settings. I think that could potentially be a difference maker, especially comparing it to teams like the Cobras that play, on the settings all the time. The Vikings actually quite enjoy the settings. If I'm away, they play the settings quite a lot in Hobart, and they've been able to play with H2, so they'd be used to this whole stuns on the phaser thing we're talking about. And then the Finnish team, which we haven't even talked about yet, is a Maksa. These are like their native settings. And they're like good players. Like Hacker is like unanimously regarded as like the greatest European player at the moment. And then Elku and Minerva have been playing with him on Mega Friends, and they've been absolutely dominating. So that's a big part of why I had Vantage just outside of that grand final. But once again, any of these teams from the 7th, even 8th place, if we're stretching it, I can totally see them being in the grand final. Just kind of depends how everything's going to play out, and that's the fun and mystery of these prediction streams, right? Yeah, I've yapped for a bit, so someone else say something.
Should we move on? And
do we want to talk about anyone else for 5th, or is it just kind of like?
Yeah, well, what team hasn't been placed yet?
Just
Yes,
Cobras and Vantage, and I think based on your predictions, you're still saying, in spite of the possible settings disadvantage, you still think Vantage will beat Cobras. So I'd be happy to go Cobras fifth, Vantage fourth, or we can talk about the third place team. I suspect we've all put the same team in third.
Yeah, let's talk about the third place team because I think that'll be a bit of fun. But as far as I'm aware, we all had the Finnish team Isamaksa in third place, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about them a little bit, and that might help us be a little bit like lock in our fifth and fourth predictions. So, teams. So on Isamaksa, we have HR Jones, Elku, Minerva, Smeagol, Urki, Mina, and Hacker. So I kind of talked about them a little bit already. Mouldy, I'll give you a sec to because you've actually versed these players before, or at least some of these players. I'm pretty sure. Or I mean, you haven't been to any of the recent like ones, have you?
No. So we've all played Hacker at Darwin Nats.
Yes.
On GP.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't believe any of those players were on the Finnish teams for 2017 Worlds.
Okay, cool.
Or at least under those aliases. I don't think so.
All right.
That's why this team was so hard to place, right?
Yeah. I'll talk about this team a little bit then. See, I kind of said it before, but there's a team at the moment in the European scene, Mega Friends, that's been formed, and that is Heki, Hacker, Elku, Minerva, and I believe his name is Keps.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have a 6-player roster at the moment. I might be forgetting a player.
I think they at Finnish that's only had 5 from memory.
Okay, it might just be those 5. But yeah, this Mega Friends team it's kind of like a European super team, and they've been doing super well. I think there's only one tournament. I believe it was the German Nationals. They didn't do too well. They don't like to talk about that one. But outside of that, they've been predicted like first place at almost like all the tournaments, right? Hacker, Elku, Minerva are on that team. HR Jones, Smeagol, Urki, and Mina aren't on that Mega Friends team. So these are other players that are coming in. But in spite of that, I've put them in third place just because, like, we saw Hacker in Darwin, and he was like extremely good. But from all accounts, like talking to the Europeans, Hacker has just gone on to like another level since then. Like they did like a sinks list where they ranked all of the players individually, like on like a tier list. So like S to F, and they gave Hacker a special one of G for like God. So we're obviously all expecting like really big things from Hacker. Elku and Minerva are like consistently putting out like really good tag ratios, strong scores. And they're a big part of the Mega Friends team success as well. So I'm super looking forward to see how they go. When I talked to Butzer about this team and I mentioned Smeagol, he also mentioned that, holy crap, like Smeagol was like a beast when that Aussie Rangers team went to the Sweenats. I can't remember what year that was. So across the board, all super strong players. I unfortunately don't know much of anything about HR Jones, Urki, and Mina, but once again, 1 shot per second stuns and 60 MS is like native to this team, right? They play with slightly different settings, so 7-second DAC instead, and they might even play 10-minute games and no reloads. I'm pretty sure no reloads is very common, but yeah, I've got pretty high hopes for this team, and I think the way they play this arena is also going to be super different as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. But I don't know. What have you guys got to say?
I have a Hacker story. I remember in Darwin 2020, the entire Wolfpack was like, Hacker is crazy, and every time I'd verse Hacker, I just like destroyed him. And then on the final day, I was like, "No, you guys are crazy. Like, he's not that good. Like, he's good, but he's not that good." And then the final day, like in one of the important games, I got absolutely reamed by him, and I still got like PTSD from that. But I'm like so excited to like see, because like obviously like all the streams and stuff about these people and like just seeing them like, and they just want to finish Nats. Sure, it's not their full lineup, but it's still very keen to see all these players play and how they play. It's their native settings and all that jazz. From what I saw, they played I think I watched the finals and a bunch of the Golden Games and stuff at finish nats, and it seemed like they played really defaulty, like 2-3, kind of like
Yeah.
like prioritizing defense a lot, and just they didn't seem too pushy, and they seemed to have a good grasp on the game, but that was because they were in control most of the time. So I think maybe they're slightly used to playing in a spot where they are the best team, and I'll be interested to see where that is here, because like I don't know how good some of these players are. I know how good some of them are, but like on a more well-rounded team like Vikings, like I would be interested to see like how that goes for them.
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing that I haven't talked about yet was that Mega Friends team. To my best of my knowledge, their in-game leader and captain is Heki, and he's obviously absent from this team. So I'm not sure what conversations they've had about who's going to lead the team, if anyone wants to, if anyone's particularly strong with it. Obviously, Hacker is an exceptional player, but I don't know if he's. I have no idea like who the captain for this team would be. So that'll be an interesting thing. Like I could see Issa Mux actually dropping out of the finals and being a few spots below if that's something they're not able to figure out. But yeah, Mouldy, what have you got to add?
Yeah, this was a hard one. I remember the pre-world stream from 2017. I think the people running that stream had a similar thing where aspirationally they wanted multiple countries in the finals. And so they put the USA team in second place, I see. And they got absolutely demolished,
Rinsed.
came ninth or worse, and then got really wasted. But so I don't think on paper, from having seen some of these players in the streams, kind of all the points that have been brought up so far, I don't think this team could get rinsed out of this comp. But I think the top end of this comp is really, really strong. And so while I've put them in third, and I hope they're that or better, it wouldn't surprise me if they were weaker. And for me, the most interesting thing is you hear stories about a player like Hacker, and I remember playing against him in Darwin and thinking he was good, but not like the absolute best player I'd ever seen. I didn't think he was the best GP player that year, right? Yor was probably the strongest player in GP that year. But the fact that he made GP, right? He was added to GP before GP retired speaks volumes about his skill level, because GP were a very, very strong team. Like they're reigning world champions still, because it's been that fucking long since we've played a world.
That's true. Crazy.
Yeah, but for me, if Hacker is as good as Runt, then watch out for this team, because like I think like we'll talk about Vikings. I think Vikings, all the players are very strong, but I think Runt is like a next dimension above every other player on that team. And I think if Hacker can do for Isamaksa what Runt does for Vikings, then they're a scary team. So it all kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah. All of that being said, do we feel that there's anything sticking out in terms of the placements? Obviously, all three of us had Issa Muxa in third, so that would kind of make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both put Aftershock in the top two. Wax, did you put Aftershock?
No, Aftershock had us in fourth.
Oh, sorry, Wax
had
said you.
Seventh,
Yeah, so I forgot. So Aftershock also need to be placed in this group somewhere, probably.
Yeah. I think it's the group is definitely Cobra's, Aftershock, and Issa Muxa for sure.
And Vantage.
Oh, it's Vantage. And Vantage.
And Vantage. Yeah. So it's like who squeaks up into the second, because I think we all know who is going to be put in first in this stream.
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking at Bomb. It's so hard. It's so hard to place these teams. Far out.
I have a lot of faith in this Aftershock. I think the way having Fuggin and Chotch back is such a big W for the team. And I love Mikey, but not an amazing captain. And I think having Fuggin take it back up the reins and Mikey being free to play the game again, I think it's all just positives for me. And I'm worried about what I said earlier about Cobras, as I think like maybe it might start rough and then you guys can finish better. But what is that compared to what it used to be? I think it will be better because it's a home maze, but I also think that maybe one thing that I thought was an interesting view is like maybe you guys, because you haven't been playing team games, maybe your thought of how to play this maze and how it progresses
is wrong. Yeah, absolutely. That is a possibility. I think we have some good theory crafters on the team, but that doesn't always work out in practice.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely done pre-nets 1, 2, 3 in the lead up to a nationals and being like, all right, yeah, this is going to be the meta. This will be the strategy. We train the shit out of that strategy. We get to nationals. And then it's just like, it just doesn't work. Or it's just not what everyone else is doing.
So we haven't trained a strategy, right? Because
Yeah.
how could we train a strategy? We don't have the teams to do it. So all we can really do is drill at the bases to know kind of how they go down. And like with three team drills, like a 3-3-2 or something, and then try and play the game the way we always have. But we're pretty out of date, I think, with the modern meta. So we're a wild card, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that's definitely like.
I think we're a real wild card
who could do anything. Because I also could see you guys low key bombing out. Like, I don't know what that means and where that puts you, but like
ninth or something.
I could see it going badly just because maybe the lack of games has really taken an impact on like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that our experience on stuns, one shot, and 60 together, given that we were originally really good on Nexus as well, will see us through to finals. Yeah, I think obviously if we make finals, I want to win, but for me, making finals after the last few years would be a pretty good goal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we'll take away some side event trophies for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Not necessarily first, but.
I'm
Between
so excited for
doubles and we call it wingman now.
Oh yeah, wingman.
Yeah. It's a sick format. It's gonna be.
We've been doing. We have not amazing walls at Launton to do it with because there's like reflective walls around, but we kind of just like say don't shoot the walls and like just play around this area, and so much fun. One of Wolfpack's favorite things to do back in the day, which we try and convince people to do now, but they fucking hate it. We call it domination, and it's just like it's just dogfight or whatever we're calling it, wingman around a base pretty much, but it's a 3v3. Like you just play dueling each other, and we just play that. We used to love that shit, and this is just mini version of that. So I'm cheering. Like I'm very excited, and we've been practicing it a little bit every so often, and I really enjoy it.
Is it you and Husky as a pair for that?
Yeah.
That scares the piss out of me, to be honest. Because you're so long, your arms are so fucking long. Like,
how big are these X's? They're like huge, right? Like they're not small.
They're pretty big. Big. But if you stand people either side of it, you can kind of see around it, right? But like you can tuck into them quite far. They don't have lips on them, so you can't do stupid bullshit where you tuck into them or anything like that. But they're spaced enough that the 4-second deac means that even if you go down on 60 ms. If you are fast enough at moving around, you can make a play. Whereas if you were just in open space like Law, you could be kept down for a very long time on these packs, I think.
Looking at this maze is crazy because you look at the reloads and you're like, oh, that's a normal size reload. And then it puts the entire maze into perspective about how big everything is.
They're pretty skinny reloads. They're very much one man can walk through just kind of reloads. They ask, But for Wingman, you can play in those reload areas. Yeah. Because they're not reloads. In Wingman, they're not reloads, right? They're just a bit of maze wall. So you can go
it's not like a circle around the X. It's like that whole space.
Yeah, so if we look at this map, it's the bottom line of the 2 X's, and then the diagonal line, pretty much. And then also, we will be using the bottom X as well for Wingman, and there's really nowhere to hide in that one.
Yeah, surely that's a bit... Alright, let's not have this conversation now, but...
It's fun.
I'm definitely going to yap about that.
That bottom X, I can tell you, I played a 2v2 Cobra's Wingman game the other day, and I walked out with 16 out of 20 lives intact because I was able to just keep people down. That X is a bit cooked for it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I like... Because I like that running the 2 games concurrently because there's the same layout, but it's a bit strange.
I feel like if the layout is different, the rules should just be just around the X. But I guess I haven't played it, so I've got no idea.
The thing is, it doesn't really matter because it's can you beat the team you're playing? That's all that matters, right? Is can you beat the pair that you're playing against? It doesn't matter if one X is different from a different X. Who cares?
Yeah, okay.
Just play it.
Amazing. Well, circling back, we have to place our 5th, 4th, 3rd team. And I guess 2nd really by extension. It's so hard placing all these teams at once. I think for me, I'm gonna stick to my guns with the Cobra's 5th place.
Yeah, I reckon
I will
Cobra's 5th,
agree.
Aftershock 4th, Vantage 3rd, Isamuxa get pushed up to 2nd.
I'm fine with this.
Because Aftershock we had, you know, a
Yeah.
7th and a 4th.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't think we could really push them higher based on those.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
And then it's like we had Vantage.
Also, it's just
2
funny for us to come 4th again. So
Yeah, and then Vantage 2 out of 3 times is below Isamuxa, so we kind of have to push Isamuxa up into 2nd.
yeah, no, that kind of makes sense. Well, just out of curiosity, what was everyone's predictions for 2nd place? So I had us.
We all put our own teams, right?
I had Vikings.
Oh, you backed yourself for the win.
Not a loser, bro. I have been for the last 2 years. Not
Ooh.
right now, though.
And then you had Cobras.
Cobras, yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna end up with this, and we're gonna end up with that, and then, well, well, actually, no, hold up. You had your own team, didn't you? Good man. Cool. We haven't even spoken about the Vikings yet, really. So let's wrap it up there. No, that would be rude. Vikings, probably actually worth talking a little bit about because there is a couple things different here. So we have the usual Runt, Twickles, CV, Leper, but they now have Jellyhawk and Ninja, interestingly. So in case people are wondering, maybe Runt's not going to be as good on 1 shot per second stun, 60 MS, like after playing the US Nuts with him. That's not a problem.
He's played multiple invites as well.
Yeah.
He is just as good on those settings.
Yeah. So Runt still goated. I admittedly haven't seen the rest of the team play on these settings except for Ninja. Ninja at home is like one of the most painful people to have to like. He's very good at dodging and using his body, and so if he catches you lacking like in a duel, even if you're active, he can absolutely win that duel. So you do have to be switched on when you're dueling Ninja. He's been really, really difficult to come up against in like just space, like 1v1s and stuff. And he's actually still putting on quite a pace as well. Even like the training we had last week, Monday, I saw him absolutely sprint into a base, and I was like, oh my God, this guy can move still. So that's all I can really comment on. Is Runt was amazing in the US on these settings, and Ninja is very difficult to deal with. I guess the only other thing I'll add is, I mean, if there's any Hobart people in the chat, you can let us know. But as far as I'm aware, like the Hobart guys actually like playing these settings, like even outside of like world cycles. Or preparing for a tournament that's on them. So they can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be a big thing for this team. Just again, talking about not only the 60 MS, but also just the difference in cadence of 1 shot per second stuns, how you can use stuns, how you can like bait people, like what to do when you get stunned, being comfortable with stun people coming up to you, all of that jazz. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it'll be very tough ask to beat the Vikings, I think. But what have you guys got to add?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think, you know, there isn't really a weak link on that team, except maybe if Jelly is not up to scuff on these settings, which I think is a possibility. But if, like, Jelly is someone who I think can play out of his skin when he wants to, and if he's not playing well, they'll just bench him anyway. So who cares? If you look at even the 5 without Jelly, it's a scary 5. Like, I think Leper is an often underrated player. But like on defense, with his build, with his experience, very good. Like he's played many worlds. CV loves. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you're in the chat. CV loves Nexus and this timing, and he was devastated when Pro came in 2015 after that comp. He at Prezzo, he was so pissed about it. So I think this is a real return to what CV likes and what CV is good at. And like before, you know, Runt's ascension and kind of, the Wolfpack, even before Wolfpack, like CV was regarded as one of the best, if not the best players in the scene, along with like Butzer. Like he's, his trophy count cannot be denied. And then you think, well, actually, in terms of pure pack scoring, he may be number 3 on that team, and he is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. So
it's crazy,
I think, Catalyst, when Vikings won in Hobart, everyone was like, cool, they're a really amazing team. They've got the H2 packs, right? But maybe they can't do it. I had some of the Cobras, I won't say who, but some of them were saying, oh, well, they've still never had a real result. You can't judge them based on that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, you watch them play, they know what they're doing, and they backed it up in Albury, right? With another win against the greatest team of the last however many years in Catalyst.
There was a lot of people who said the same thing in Queensland.
And they were all stupid and wrong. Because if you watch, yes, they were at home in Hobart, but if you watched how they played, it was clear that this was not the Hobart of the previous few years. That the whole scene had come up a huge level, and we see that with the Archangels players as well, right? Like Hobart now, from Hobart 5 to 10 years ago, it's a completely different scene. And I actually played Albury Prenats 1 on a team with Runt and Twinkles, which was super, super fucking fun. But the amazing thing about playing with them is they never doubt that they're going to win. I think they have this mindset of just, we're going to win, and then they make it happen. And I think that mental game that they have is something that's really hard to beat. Like if you can get Twinkles to actually tilt, you might have a chance. Because when he tilts, he's a salty little bitch about it. But up until that point, they're solid. And they're gonna be godlike on this packs and on this timing. I appreciate you putting Vantage in first because you got to back yourself, Wax. But I don't see that your lineup, that's not your full Catalyst lineup, beating this Vikings team. I don't think it's physically possible.
And I think that's very fair. But I also think that Pug is the next up and comer, and he's at a point right now where I think that he can prove to everyone that it's now, it's not coming, it's happened.
Yeah.
And I think Zam's such a solid player to just fit into a team where having another glue player right now is actually really solid for us, and I think that's going to work wonders. And I know from my brain, it's just I know how to play laser tag, and I know how to run a team well and do these things well. It's just the communication and the putting it into just all the other shit I need to work through. And if I can do that, I think strategically wise, I think we can do good things against the Vikings. But it's definitely going to be, it's not going to I got to back myself and I got to back the boys. And yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, without further ado, I'm just going to copy and paste those guys in there. Vikings will definitely going to be the team to beat. Obviously, they've won the last 2 nationals pretty convincingly. Super dominant settings that I think suit these guys even more than 2 shots per second does. Obviously, we haven't really talked about Twinkles very much, but he's, he's obviously, him and Runt have this game of trying to see who's going to get the better TRs every game and get the better scores, and he's actually beats Runt quite a lot. We talk about Runt a lot, but Twinkles is putting out some insane scores and stat lines. So
yeah, I know I was throwing shade at him, but he actually is it's incredible his own kind of ascension in the last couple of years in terms of skill, and it's almost a shame that he's been overshadowed by Runt. And he knows that Runt is a bit better than him as well, but I think people often then discount just how good he is.
Yeah.
But really, it's not just Runt's attack that makes their attack so devastating. It's the combination of those 2 players and how they move through the arena and how and when they meet up to form a 2 and hit your base. That's really, really hard to deal with, and he's a really big component of that. And he's freakishly hard to duel as well, and I think being a lefty gives him a good advantage over most other players in the arena as well. So
I do think that one of his most used moves is nerfed by the rules, the way when he gets really low to the ground and stuff. And I think he does that 50% of the time. So if he can do it, if everything else works out fine, that he'll be fine. I'm not saying he won't be fine, but I think one of his go-to moves is deleted.
Are you talking about the 90-degree bend over, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the reffing will
Yeah,
be
that's
in
fair.
line with the rules. But like that was a fairly last-minute rule ad request from the Euros, so I don't know how well the Australians are gonna take that, because I know there are a few players in Australia, not to name any names, who will run around bent over in a 90-degree position, which I actually think is illegal under Ziltak rules, but no one seems to term it there. So if they won't term it there, why will they term it in New Zealand? We'll see.
I'll see what
You
happens.
know? Yeah.
Is there a ref test or anything for the world settings?
I don't believe so at this point. I think it was originally planned, and then in the transition and the kind of the amount of stuff that's had to go on behind the scenes to get this comp to happen, I think that might have lost out.
I think
But
it's 90, right? Not 80.
sorry, no,
Well,
it is
80 degrees is okay. It's past 80 is not.
it's greater.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
greater than 80, right?
Yeah.
And the reason it was put in as 80 rather than 90 was because I wrote the actual implementation of the rule. I didn't want people bickering, being like, no, I'm just shy of 90 degrees. I wanted to be clear that if we're gonna ban like bending over, that there's no like wiggle room at the extreme edge of that. If we're gonna ban it, it's banned, and so that's why it was 80.
Yeah, cool. Well, I don't know. I think there we have it. So I'll post a screenshot of this on the LSA thing so people can have a gaze of it. Again, I say this almost every prediction stream, but if your team wasn't placed where you want them to be placed, it's nothing. We're not trying to be rude or anything. It's just like, we have to place them somewhere. But it's, if you're unhappy with your placement, it's an opportunity for your team and you as a player to kind of prove us wrong. And then we get to talk about you lots in the review stream and be like, oh my God, we were idiots. So yeah, I personally don't have anything else to add. Have you guys got any last little tidbits?
I'm just very excited to actually give world settings a full try and have like a full on comp on it, because I've kind of been on the fence about 60 ms and like where I sit with it, and I think I did say to myself after worlds I would kind of like pick a side that I'd like want to be on which way I think works better for the game. But I'm very excited to play, very excited to come to New Zealand. It's gonna be fun. Yeah,
it's gonna be dope. It is a shame, like I originally, like, Aftershock wasn't even going to go to Worlds because we were like, but there's like, it's Worlds and there's two non-oceanic teams, right? I was like, initially I was just like not keen on it, but then the way I got it pitched to me was like, sure, but just if you don't think of it as Worlds, it's just a standalone tournament. Like the caliber of teams that are looking at going are like really, really, really good. It's a shorter tournament, less teams. We're just going to play so many games, and like there's less of like the middle bottom tier that you get at like Zoltak, for instance, where you play a bunch of round robin games where you're like, oh.
I will attack Moomin if there is 2 fucking round robins. I swear to God.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure there's Cascade.
If there is 2 round robins, I'm going home. Like, I don't care.
Do you know if we're doing 3-game series for golden games, elimination games and stuff, Mouldy?
I believe that was the original plan, but as I said, I'm not involved in that anymore.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I hope that it is a 3-game Ascension. That was the plan.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea. And if I can just make a tangent here and kind of go back to what you were saying about the lack of international teams, I think it is a shame. Like, the more teams, the better. I don't think that takes away from the fact that it is the world champs and everyone in the world had a chance to go, and we voted on countries and we beat out Germany 4-2, and then a bunch of European teams, for whatever reasons, chose not to come. We can't control that, but the tournament will still be excellent. It'll be amazing to spectate if we get the map stuff working nicely. The caliber will be higher than any other worlds on average by a long way.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a link to the schedule here. I'll just send you in Facebook, Ryan, and you can bring it up if we want to talk about that.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah. There we go. And then, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the comp. Worlds has a really cool vibe to it. I know it's only run like a handful of times, but the 2017 Worlds, if you didn't go to that, which I know most people did not, you missed out on probably like the greatest tournament ever, and just in terms of everything about the comp. It was absolutely amazing. I don't think we have some of the advantages that they had. They had a bar on site, and the booze was
Amazing.
free flowing, and
That
bowling, and
seems
amazing
dangerous.
amazing French pastries every morning from the neighboring bakery brought over for free. Oh, it was magic. We don't have any of that, but we have a really good site operator who's really cares and has been in it for a long time. Alice and Zed are basically running the comp in terms of like overall organization, and probably the most organized laser tag organization in the world. And yeah, if you want to be called the world champs or have a chance, you have to come, and that's what these teams who are coming have done. And if you're a team who chose not to come, don't be disparaging the world's comp, because that was your choice. Is all I have to say on that. Like the winner of this tournament will be the world champion team, indisputably.
I think no matter what happens, it's gonna happen anyway. So like,
yeah,
we can say otherwise, but like, there's always gonna be people talking shit or whatever. So
I know. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're looking forward to having everyone over, and we're gonna host as best we can. It's gonna be great.
I'm having a tough time interpreting this teams finals thing.
yeah, I'm also slightly confused.
Looks a bit weird. Maybe it's not.
It just looks like a 2-track ascension, doesn't it?
Well, first place goes straight to finals as well.
That is a worlds and European staple.
That is disgusting.
I actually think it's fair. Yeah. I think given the 3-team format, I think the possibility to get cucked out when you are winning the entire time by getting cheesed out by teams who don't want to see you in finals is BS. I think if you're the best team over the comp.
When does that happen though? In Australia, I guess, not in the world.
So 2014 it happened to the Cobras. 2017 it happened to the Cobras.
Interesting.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, it was pretty bullshit. Yeah.
So by the looks, Wax, by the way, yeah, it looks like a just one round robin. You
Cascade?
play, and then Cascade 1 and Cascade 2, and then finals. So pretty standard.
Thank God.
And by looking at this thing, it doesn't look like there's any 3-game series or anything.
I'm unfit as hell, so that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, the schedule's pretty tight. I kind of forced Wingman to be in there without adding an extra day, and that might have made the schedule a bit tighter than it needed to be. So you can blame me for that one.
It's interesting. We're doing like Team Elim in the morning and then teams at night. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, so we are doing side events in the morning. Cool.
Yeah, the side events are all just kind of like done. Well, we do the round robin and then just do all the side events. Actually, yeah, we did that in the US as well. We played a bit of round robin, and then there was just a day where it was just the side events and just like did them all to completion. Obviously for Zoltak it's a little difficult because there's so many teams, but for a smaller tournament with around 15 teams, it was really good. It was nice to get them out the way like that. Not to say that we don't want to play them, like get them out the way, but like it feels nice knowing that the side events are over and you can really just like focus on the teams event, you know?
I think it does give like an unfair advantage to home site if it's all too early though. That's my only issue.
It's true, like for the side events. But...
Is what Sega saying a thing? Go back to the schedule on Ascensions?
Yeah, these draws might not be 100% final, by the way. I think they're just close, but yeah.
That seems crazy. They just don't play Ascensions. That's insane.
Something else. Well, actually, have you guys got anything else you want to look at or talk about? Just looking at this stuff. Oh my god.
So many things.
So many tabs.
Do they have anything else?
Because if not,
nah.
I'll probably start to wrap up the show. So we'll stop sharing. Does that stop sharing? Amazing. Cool. One little thing I'll actually mention. So I'm sure you guys have seen that got announced the Zone Laser Tag Oceanic Championships. That's a tournament that Runt and I kind of cooked up in our time in the US. This Worlds event is going to be factored into the qualifying points for Zoltok. So there's a little bit for anyone that's wanting to qualify for this first Oceanic Championships. This Worlds is going to be, I think we have Worlds is the highest. Going back to the points thing, you can go back and watch the video or whatever, but Worlds is worth the most. It's the same. Actually, we have it the same as Zoltak and Ziltec. So the European Championships, Australasian Championships, and Worlds. That's the biggest way to earn points. So do well at Worlds, and you're probably you're doing yourself a favor in terms of qualifying for Zoltok, which will be on very, very similar settings. They're not 100% locked in, but I would say for sure it'll be one shot per second stuns with some form of trigger lockout. But for the most part, we just want to be unified with everyone else with that. Yeah, just wanted to put that in there. Cool. You gents got anything else you want to say?
Yeah, Keen?
Oh yeah, I'm sure most people know this. Even if you're not coming to Worlds, this site will be the Zoltak host site for 2026. So if you want a good preview of it, tune in and watch. And then, yeah, I'm sure we'll be taking feedback on the maze and probably doing some changes between Worlds and Zoltak to make some improvements and mix it up a bit. But yeah, get keen for that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool. I'm super excited. This tournament's going to be dope. 15 teams, super, super, super strong teams. Was really hard to predict, the top half of this tournament. I cannot wait. It's going to be an amazing time. The stream's going to have supposing everything going well, is going to have the map tracker, which is going to be awesome to have this for obviously it's been used for previous NZ tournaments, but the first time being used for a really big tournament. It's going to be interesting to see how teams use that and whether it factors into team success or not. We didn't really talk about that much, but the stream's already gone for ages, so I'm going to wrap it up. Tune in. We'll be sharing all the stream link information, everything through LSA as well, in case you miss it. But thank you so much, Wax and Mouldy, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say. So
see you in 4 days.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much 3 days, which is crazy.
Yeah. See you then.
Signing off. Catch us later. Boom. Love you.